Instead of taking 10 hours, it will literally take 10 to 15 minutes now. Start off with just a small amount of capital, like $5,000 to $10,000. And now their business is literally making like $15,000, $20,000 a month in profit. I work on average as an Amazon seller around 10 hours a month. They don't know how to pinpoint those good products because it literally takes too long. They might be going over a list for 20, 30 hours and they're not able to find products. They just give up on the list. We're about to launch now.
Hey everyone, so my name is David. I'm the founder of Green Mountain Advisors, and I have a special treat for you today. I am interviewing Dimitriou. He is the founder of Astro, a startup company that's about to launch in about a week. The date is February 17th, 2025. So we're right there, right? We're right at the cusp of that escape velocity. We're about to make something go from 0 to 1. So I felt like it'd be the perfect time to set up a call with George, get an interview. George is based out of Australia, and I'm over here in Miami. So we've been working together since, I want to say what, June?
We've been discussing things since roughly April, May, and we've been closely working since probably June. So that's a good 9 months right now. Oh, 8 months. 8 months, working very closely together. Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into Astro and your, what you were doing right before and how you were kind of bootstrapping the company, can you tell us a little bit more about your background growing up, where you're from? How'd you get into it?
Yeah, sure. So I was born in Greece. My parents had already lived in Australia. They were back and forth. So I happened to be born in Greece, and I came and we migrated to Australia when I was like a baby, like three years old roughly. So I grew up in Sydney, high school and everything in Sydney. Then I'm actually real tall. I'm 6'7", David, as you know. So I had an inclination towards basketball. So I love basketball. So I decided to go to Europe to play basketball. I played. I started off playing in the professional leagues in both Greece and Spain. A few injuries set me back, some serious injuries. So obviously my career didn't progress. 2 ACLs, both knees. One on both knees, and some lower back issues. So talent was there, but unfortunately it wasn't in the cards to go to the NBA. But that's okay. I think there's other things as well, not just sports. But yeah, it was fun. It was real good. Like sports teach you a lot of life lessons. Being part of a team and having to be resilient and mentally tough, and handle hard situations. So I'm glad I went through it, even though it wasn't as good as it could have been. I'm still glad I went through that whole experience. It toughens you up, especially as a young kid at the age of 17, leaving home and going to a foreign country and trying to get something done there. It's a huge it toughens someone up, I can say that much.
Yeah, you definitely mature a lot faster than what we see today with people staying at home and
definitely
coasting.
Yeah, you need to it's important to build that resilience, mental resilience, and be shocked at a few things and saying, oh wow, that's not what it was like at home. But no, you're in the real world now. You're a boy amongst men, and you have to man up fast. So it's good. I think it's a good part. It was a very good learning experience, even for me.
Did you ever feel any imposter syndrome now that you were competing with all these guys who were already experienced and whatever, and being a young kid coming into it?
Yeah, because I was playing against with a few large personalities at times, and I wouldn't say I felt imposter syndrome, but it was very interesting to be a part of that and just seeing that situation.
Who was the coolest basketball player that you've ever played with?
So I remember my first year I played with a person who played with Michael Jordan.
Oh shit!
So that was one person. Yeah, it was quite interesting. I got feedback on what it was like to play alongside Michael Jordan. He played with him at the Wizards in his latest years. Birds are chirping quite loud. And I also played against Giannis Antetokounmpo when he was at a young age. He was probably like 16 or 17 at the time, before he went to the NBA.
How old were you when you played him?
I was quite a bit older than him, so I would have been roughly 26, 27. So he would have been 16 or 17. I played against both Antetokounmpo brothers, the ones that are Milwaukee right now. So I still have the highlights from the game. I did quite well.
Yeah, I love basketball. I went from basketball to jiu-jitsu, and now since I have my own knee injuries as well, I'm thinking maybe I should go back to basketball. I'm playing some golf in the meantime, but
Yeah, basketball, you just got to worry about, there are injuries like, if you're heavy set, you might be prone to knee and back injuries. Yeah, so it needs to be done in moderation.
So you got out of the European League. How old were you?
I finished when I was 30.
Okay.
When I was 30, that's when I stopped playing basketball, 29, 30. And yeah, I came back to Australia and I just dived into a few various roles. So I kind of got into sales, just exploring some sales, exploring what I was going to do after that. So I did a bit of real estate and a bit of some sales jobs, but I ended up really liking, I just saw one of those videos on courses on Amazon, and I liked the business model. And I did a course and I learned, that was around 7 years ago, I learned how to sell on Amazon. And I've been fully involved in that for the last pretty much 7 years now, basically reselling branded goods on Amazon. So that's what I've been doing. And that's where I got the idea to build Astro, to build out the
most
SaaS.
people don't just transition from, let's say working to immediately becoming an Amazon seller. Like this field, you need some capital to put in. You have to wait for the product to get shipped out and then to make the sale and to do it over again at a certain point. So
yeah,
how long do you think it took you to become a full-time seller?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because so I was working at real estate at the time when I was still dabbling in selling. Like I said, I started off real slow. So it was more like, oh, okay, these products here are going to cost me $700. All right, let's buy them. It looks like I'll have a $300 return. All right, I'll just buy them and I'll send them in and see how they go. And obviously you make a lot of mistakes, and it's good to make mistakes as long as they're small and with small amounts of capital. That's the way I see things. If you lose that $500 or $700, it's fine. Okay, it's not life changing. It's a small amount. But as you keep doing that and you make, you find what works, then you can start increasing the amount of money you send in. So after around 6 months dabbling, I kind of got the hang of it and saw what I needed to be doing. I saw the path to victory, you might say. I saw what I needed to get to that point. And once I saw and I realized, and I kind of got the business model set, that's when I was confident to say, okay, now I can throw $10,000 or $20,000 into this and be confident that I'll get the return that I need to get. I'll get that $6,000 worth of return or $7,000, whatever the numbers might be. So that's when I decided that it's, I no longer need to work a full-time job. I can, transition to Amazon, selling on Amazon, and make more than what I was making with the other job.
And how old were you when you decided to make the full-time switch?
I would have been around 32, maybe 33 years old, 32, 33.
Okay, so you were pretty fast. You said, okay, 2 years real estate, not for me.
Yeah, I wanted something that I feel that was endlessly scalable, and you could do it anywhere as well. If I decided to move tomorrow to the US or even to Antarctica, for example, I could still do the business. So I'm in Australia and I'm selling in the US. I wanted a business where I didn't have to be in a physical location to be successful. I wanted to be able to do it anywhere and for it to be infinitely scalable. I feel that that's one of the best ways to not have, the golden shackles, as they say, where you're making a lot of money, but you're stuck to working many, many long hours and in a physical location. You're stuck in this one particular city because that's everything's set up there and you just can't leave that area. So I decided that I would rather pursue selling on Amazon as opposed to real estate, which could have also been promising as a real estate agent. Maybe you can start an agency or many different things, but then I would have been stuck to, I would have to be in Sydney for the next 15 years and nothing's going to change that. So I really like the fact that I could be free to run the Amazon and other things, which it proved me to be right because I've also started the SaaS. So yeah, that's why I like that.
That's also a really interesting thing because we come across maybe 20 founders a week at this point, and a lot of things stuck out to me that I thought were very rare with your story compared to a bunch of other founders that we speak to. But before we get into that, what year was it when you made the switch to full-time? Just so that we can get this timeline.
To full-time Amazon selling?
Yeah.
It was around 6 months after I started, and I'm pretty sure I started in March of 2018.
Okay.
So So yeah, so let's just say 2019, roughly.
So, yeah, 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you've been pretty quick at analyzing trends and seeing what isn't working and how to fix it. I know that in basketball, you have to have that kind of ability to see the gap in the pocket to make the pass.
Definitely.
So it's kind of like this. You started selling on Amazon. At what point did you say, okay, we have a problem here and I need to build something to help me get more competitive or to help free up my time and start planting the seeds for this SaaS? Like, how did you even, like, what triggered it? What was that point?
Okay, there were a few things that helped me come to the conclusion of the SaaS. So one of the things that I realized is when you're doing what I do, when you're reselling branded goods on Amazon, you firstly have to reach out to a lot of suppliers. That's the first thing. So suppliers obviously hold on to the goods that you want to resell on Amazon. So you're looking at suppliers, wholesalers, distributors, all these types of people, and brands sometimes. So you have to reach out to a lot of suppliers, and they might send you lists with tens of thousands of products. Now, those tens of thousands of products are not going to be good. So they might, out of those 10,000 products, they might have 10 good products that are good this month. So that phase took extremely long to get from 10,000 products to the 5 or 10 products that are worth selling.
And this is 2018, 2020, and you're having issues with this, right?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Because the Amazon reseller community, we speak a lot, and I've seen people that have a ton of capital. Like I know people that have $500,000 or $800,000 worth of capital that they're willing to invest, and they weren't able to find enough products that to buy and resell at a profit because they just didn't find the suppliers, or they weren't able to pinpoint the good products they need to buy from their suppliers. And then I've seen other people, and I've literally seen this because I kind of mentor a lot of people, where they start off with just a small amount of capital, like $5,000 to $10,000, and now their business is literally making like $15,000 to $20,000 a month in profit, not sales, like profit. So I've seen both scenarios, and I've seen what the difference is. So one of them obviously is, sometimes some people might have a language barrier and they just can't communicate well with suppliers. But other people, they don't know how to pinpoint those good products because it literally takes too long. And if they don't have the experience, they don't understand, it just takes too long. So they might be going over a list for 20, 30 hours and they're not able to find products, and they just give up on the list, where if they knew how to look at the list, they may have found the products that are profitable and much faster. So that was one of the first huge issues that happened to me. But I happened to have, I probably went through around 150 supplier list, and I was lucky to find the 3 or 4 that are good that I could actually make money from. So that's the way I was able to start achieving some success and actually gain more perspective. Now, that was the first part. The first part was I had made this system where I would gather the data points that were provided by other softwares in relation to the Amazon data points, and I would put them on an Excel spreadsheet. And then the Excel spreadsheet had certain equations in them where it would score the data points that I'd added. So it was all automatically set in an Excel spreadsheet, something very simple. So I was using this system to make profit. So I would write in these little equations into the Excel spreadsheet, and they would come up with the results. And I was able to analyze products much faster using this method. In particular, during the COVID lockdown phases, I happened to be on holiday in Greece, and I got stuck in Greece. So I was in Greece at my father-in-law's house, and I was stuck there because I was meant to go there for like 2-3 months, and I was stuck there for 8 months. And I was watching a podcast done by Naval Ravikant, who I'm a huge fan of. And I still can't find on which podcast he said this on, but I'm pretty sure he said it. He said that anything that you do on an Excel spreadsheet can be made into a SaaS. And that really got me thinking. And I decided to say that little method that I'd done with the Excel spreadsheet and the scoring and all the data points, I'm like, what if I automated that? What if I managed to pull data points into something like an Excel spreadsheet and then have this all automated? Instead of having to fill in all the data points and data entry just request it, bang, it's there. And then the next phase was just me grabbing a book, just a normal book, grabbing one and start drawing designs, how the data will flow. And I just kept doing it, building it and building it and building it better and better and better. And then I started realizing the opportunity, because by having this part automated, where instead of it taking 20 hours, if it could take 30 minutes, how much more productive will a user be? Will this Amazon seller be? Basically, if they could do that, instead of making it take 20 hours, if they can do one every half an hour, instead of having to go through 50 suppliers, or 50 suppliers times 20 hours, which is obviously a lot of hours, 1,000 hours, they can go through those 50 suppliers half an hour each, so in 25 hours. So within a week, they would have pinpointed what they could find and resell. So that, gave me the confidence to say, hey, if I build this and build it correctly, I think there's something that can really help a lot of people.
You identified this problem 2 or 3 years after being a seller, after being a practitioner.
Yeah.
What do you think the implications would have been for not solving this problem in the way that you're solving it? Because there has to be competitors out there. There has to be people already doing this, and you still weren't satisfied with the solutions on the market. So what would life have looked like if you didn't go this way and you would still operate the way you were before?
I'm currently implementing what I've built. So life is looking much better as an Amazon seller. I work on average as an Amazon seller around 10 hours a month. Jeez. I'm used to saying 10 hours a week, but it's actually 10 hours a month. And my tasks are all done. So like the part where it comes to finding products to actually sell, that probably takes around 2 to 3 hours for the whole month. And we're talking about quite a substantial quantity, because I do quite a bit in revenue. So that part is set. Like the other 6 or 7 hours is in regards to organizing my shipment plans, or organizing the orders from my suppliers, and doing the shipment plans, and maybe having a quick look at Amazon once a day, just to see my sales, checking out my profit board, seeing how much money I've made in actual profit. So if I wasn't doing that, if I didn't have Astro at the moment, I would be using the traditional methods of pinpointing products to buy, which will probably still take me around bare minimum 4 or 5 hours per list. So, but more likely for the bigger list, it might take me 10 to 12 hours. So we're talking about around between 50 to 80 hours per month of work just on the product research.
Just on the product research.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
And if you didn't have this software, or there weren't any other softwares on the market, you would have just relied on VAs? Or what if I said just hire?
Yeah. Well, if I didn't have Astro and I just had the other softwares, I would need at least 2, maybe 3 VAs to do the volume I'm doing now. We're talking about in terms of paying them, how much that would cost. We're talking about a cost of around, let's say at a minimum $400 per VA, but most VAs are around $600 to $800. So that times 3 VAs. So we're talking about minimum 1,200, maximum probably maybe 2,400, 2,400 USD per month. But obviously that's all substituted with just one software.
You went from being bootstrapped to funded, but what were some of like the early day challenges of being a bootstrap founder? What were your biggest frustrations? Like, let's say somebody's watching this and they want to start their own SaaS.
Yeah.
What are some pitfalls maybe they could avoid? What was your journey around that?
Yeah. Interesting question. So basically what I was doing, I was getting my profit from my Amazon business and funding my SaaS. So that's what was going on for a long time. I was getting the money and funding the SaaS. So the biggest issue was speed. It was slow. Because you're obviously going to make mistakes when you're building a SaaS. You're always going to make mistakes. And the goal is to make mistakes as fast as possible so you can recalibrate and go on the right path. That's the goal, to make mistakes as fast as possible and to correct course. Now, when you don't have the funding, when you're just bootstrapping, you're obviously very careful with the cash you spend. And that might mean you might not hire the best person because you're afraid, the person that costs, $20 an hour seems more appealing to the person that costs $40 an hour, but maybe, maybe you need to do research, but maybe the guy that does that costs $40 an hour, maybe they're so much better, so much faster that they can complete a task in a month that the guy doing $20 an hour might need 4 months to complete. So that's one thing that you need to understand. So it might not be the case. Sometimes a guy that's in some other price range might be better, but you'll be better able to assess that. And so bootstrapping, that's one of the biggest issues. Time's one of the biggest issues. Things might take a lot longer, and you're a lot slower to realize mistakes. So that will just make things take much longer.
So it's a lot of just kind of like ignorance tax. You just don't know, and you don't have the funding to find out faster. So you're kind of just trying things out on your own, and it's costing you all the time. So
and it could end up costing you more money as well. That's one thing. Like, it could inversely have that effect of costing you more money because you're so slow about it. So it could cost you more money. That's one thing but sometimes it's worth paying more to have someone do it in a month than if you just go from the example I said earlier. One guy's $40 a month, $40 an hour, and the other guy's $20 an hour. But the guy that does is $40 an hour will complete it in a month, where the other guy will take 4 months. You're actually paying double for the guy that takes 4 months because his rate is half, but it took 4 times as long. So you actually paid more for the cheaper guy in this scenario. So that's one of the cases. So you could actually it could actually work inversely, both in time and cash.
So we met at a business conference and started following each other, engaging with each other online.
Yeah.
What do you think kind of triggered you to reach out to Green Mountain and start looking for more options, for more leverage, more speed? What do you think was that thing that pushed you?
One important thing was expertise. So Green Mountain's expertise, your expertise in the sense of understanding the business model. Firstly, you understood the business model, which is very important. And then you realize the opportunity. But then very importantly, after you were able to bring funding and you showed me the path to victory, considering the funding, like, for example, how many users we'll need to cover everything and all these things, and they seemed extremely feasible. So looking at all these data points and these things that you showed to me, there was obviously a clear path to victory, a clear path to success, to get everything set. So when you provided me with this opportunity, a few light bulbs popped up. So obviously you're going to bring the funding. Green Mountain brought the funding, which was great.
Green Mountain brought the funding.
Correct.
Oh.
So because Amazon resellers, they're in a tight community. Like, there's a lot of them, there's heaps of them, but they're in a bit of a tight community. I feel that if I was to come out with a product that's subpar, that's not like in a real good level, I feel that if too many Amazon sellers saw it before it was 100% ready, a bad word would come out and people would not want to try it. So I'd be like, oh no, I heard it's crap. I heard it's not good. So that gave me the sense that, hey, if I was to get funded by Green Mountain, then I could really build the product team as they should be and get the product real well. So just know that before we met, we had developed the second version of Astro, because the first version was not a success. We brought in a whole new team to rebuild it completely. So that's version 2. We rebuilt Astro completely. Version 2 is what we used to confirm that the product was good. We tested version 2 on people and we got feedback, and the feedback was very good, but it wasn't where it needed to be. The product wasn't where it needed to be to actually monetize it. So once we got funded by Green Mountain, that's when we actually pretty much rebuilt the whole thing with a perfect UI, with brilliant performance and capabilities, which would really narrow down that the process, instead of taking 10 hours, it will literally take 10 to 15 minutes now. And that's what we finalized like in the last few months, and we're about to launch now. So the fact that we got funded, I saw the clear path to victory. I saw how many users we'll need to achieve all our goals, our minimum goals, by the way, not our maximum, but how few users we need to achieve the maximum goals. And obviously you and your team are the ones who gave me that vision and the numbers for me to understand that that's where we need to go. So then I realized, okay, if that's the case, then I can build the product like this, like this, like this, and it's going to take me this amount of time, and we'll be ready to launch soon. And that's pretty much where we're at now, like just, possibly a week before launch. So the funding took me to that level.
Let me ask you, do you think it was really the funding? Because I feel like, you had a product that was good enough that probably could have gone and gotten capital from, some private investor or something like that. Was it more so the funding, the expertise, combination of both? What do you think really moved the needle when the time was right? Because we got you funded in, I think, 2 months or so?
I think conversation started in May or June regarding what you could provide. And I think the money came in August. So I would say it was maybe less than 2 months, like in terms of agreeing and then getting the capital. But I really have to go over our emails to see exactly when it came in. But it may have been less than 2 months. But what obviously, I was talking with quite a few different investors. Some people wanting to give larger amounts, some people wanted more equity, some people it was a huge range. But one of the big things was that I felt that you paid more attention to understand the product. Big bonus. You understood the product, and you understood the opportunity much better. So Green Mountain understood the opportunity much better, and then the fact you also understood the market much better, which was very important. So you understood the market very well and understood the opportunity within the market. Next is the fact that you and your team have brought me in contact with easily around 30 or 40 people, probably around 30 or 40 people that you've brought me in contact with, where I've met them and chatted with them. And I believe that over half of them could potentially help further my business goals for Astro, for my SaaS. Obviously, before deciding to say yes, it was an assumption that you would do that. But I can honestly say that after getting funded, and at this point where I am right now, you've well exceeded my expectations especially in the fact that networking and bringing me in touch with a lot of people that we could both, we could benefit each other, both me benefiting them and them benefiting, the SaaS. So that was very, very beneficial, in addition to obviously the funding.
Right. And it's kind of crazy because I remember over the summer, it was almost like you were, and it still is like that today, but you're working in Australia, we're here working in the US, so we were working 24 hours straight, basically, between both.
Yeah.
Was crazy too.
Sorry?
The lawyers as well was insane.
Yeah, the lawyers did slow us down, I can say that.
It's crazy. Guys, if you've ever seen how an international deal gets structured, it's a nightmare. It's a pure nightmare. But I don't know, we got it done in a month and a half, or no, sorry, 2 or 3 months. An international deal. I'm gonna read that, right? Like,
the funding was ready before the lawyers got things ready. They were both slow and oftentimes extremely misleading. Yeah.
And then we ended up going to Shanghai like 3 months after that to meet, actually, for face-to-face, but also for a business conference. And what do you think the value was there in terms of kind of just starting relationships with people in China?
It was good to get an understanding of how things are operating in China, and they're in front of a lot of parts of the world in a lot of things. So you can see how they're advanced in a lot of aspects, the way their market is, and obviously the population, their speed. So it's very interesting to see. Plus, also we were at a business conference, so we met a lot of people that I'm very glad I met, people that have achieved a lot of things in the business world, and also great, some great characters as well. So I'm very glad we had that meeting in Shanghai. And yeah, Shanghai is beautiful city. I never would have expected to go to China, but it was a great experience. I enjoyed going.
Yeah, and you'll be probably coming to the US soon for all the Wholesale and Amazon conferences.
Yeah. The majority of my user base is in the US. The most, we're firstly serving the US market. So all the trade shows and a lot of the affiliates and a lot of the people that will be working or partnering with Astro are in the US. So yeah, we'll definitely be visiting a lot of the trade shows, in Las Vegas, ASD, and a lot of these other ones. Yeah,
that's awesome. So I think we're going to wrap up this interview, but where can people find you? they're interested in learning more, where can they find Astro?
They can find me on YouTube. I'm the remote seller, so kind of like a remote control, but remote as in not about somewhere else. The remote seller, and from the YouTube, all my social media accounts are linked there as well. Instagram, Telegram, all those types of things. You can find all that stuff there as well.
Yeah, and you have a private community in your Telegram for sellers.
Correct. Yeah. We have a private, close-knit community where we really assist each other and help each other out. People ask questions, newbies, experienced people, everyone. Yeah.
Wow. So we've got about a week before launch, and
yeah, excited.
I can't wait for the next half.
Yeah, can't wait either. Yeah, very excited for this.
All right, George. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, David.